In this video, we'll look at one of our getting started examples, particularly how to do distributed training with TensorFlow on our array endpoint. So if you go to the docs.rafay.co and click on the Get Started Guides, you'll see this distributed training TensorFlow getting started example. Let's click on that, and there's a bunch of code available that follows a certain it actually implements TensorFlow's mirrored strategy to perform distributed training. It's a fairly simple setup. Now, the assumption we make here is you already set up your array as a service endpoint, which actually is running here. This is our endpoint that was running here on a virtual cluster that we saw in the other videos. So what we're going to do is simply import the TensorFlow libraries and NumPy and import array, of course, and then initialize array, and then define the distributed training function, and then we'll generate some random data, and then we'll train the model, and we'll return the model, and then we have a job using the job submission client, array's job submission client, to submit the job to the remote array endpoint. So of course, in this, one thing you got to do is the submission client requires the URL for the endpoint. In ours is pre-configured to the HTTPS URL, and then there's some authentication and authorization credentials that you have to provide in base 64 encoded format. Of course, if you use an alternate authentication mechanism, you can swap that out. In this example, we'll be using the basic authentication. All right. So now let's run the job. What we've done is we packaged this into two Python files, and the second one essentially is the runner that runs this using the job submission client. And what we'll do is we'll go run that, run it. So do Python 3 run.py. And what this will do is it will connect to our array endpoint, and we'll kind of show the dashboard in a second. So if you go to the particular dashboard, you'll notice that we have now received a job. And if you go look at it, we look at the runtime environment, it's asked us to go and install TensorFlow 2.9 and NumPy. And then the status is succeeded. This is a fairly simple example, so it's finished. But if you go look at this, it's performed its task, and here's the output for that. And if you go look at the results, you can see the entire results of the training end to end. And in just a few seconds, we were able to use our Python code and perform training using TensorFlow in our array endpoint as a user.